It just wants to move around. It wants to go where it wants to go, not where you want it to go. And you might be sat there thinking that I'm talking about this as if it's a bad thing, but it's really, really not. Hey up everybody, and welcome back to the Just the Driven YouTube channel. My name is Josh Bridges, and behind me you will see the MK4 FocusST. Now, I've already reviewed the MK4 FocusST on my channel, and if you want to check that out, there will be a link down in the description. But we're going to be taking this car out today because some things have changed. Now, before, when we did the review, the car was completely stock. However, this time around we've now got the Dreamscience Stage 1 map on this car, taking power up roughly 50 brake horsepower to around 330, and taking up the torque a chunk as well. Now, if we just take a quick look around, we're on the beautiful roads around Sherburn and Elmet. We've got the motorist hub just behind me to the right hand side of me here, which is a brilliant place for cars, coffee and all of that good stuff. But today's video, we're going to be concentrating on this particular car. So considering this video is about how this car drives, now it has been remapped, let's jump into the car, let's take a look at the Dreamscience handset, and then we'll get out onto the road. So we are on the interior of the MK4 FocusST, and I've got the Dreamscience imap handset in my hand. Now, whenever you buy a remap from Dreamscience, you'll receive one of these, and specifically for the MK4 FocusST, you have 3 different options when you want to upload a file. The first option is Performance Plus. That takes power up to 300 brake horsepower, and it moves the torque between 330 to 340 pound-foot, and this file is designed to be used on 95 RON fuel. This is the fuel that you can pick up from any single petrol station in the UK, be it Sainsbury's, Morrison's, Shell, BP, Esso and any of them. Now, moving on to the second option you've got, which is a Dreamscience Ultima map. This file is designed to be used with 97 and 99 RON fuel only. Now, this further pushes up the power to 315 brake horsepower and nudges the torque up to 350 pound-foot. Now, the last file that we're going to be speaking about is the one that's uploaded to this particular car, and that is the Dreamscience Ultima Plus. Now, this is their trademark file. This is what everybody tends to run in the performance Fords, and this nudges power even further up to 330 brake horsepower and moves the torque up to around 380 pound-foot. I'm really impressed with this little device here. I have used one in the past when I owned my MK2 FocusST, but they've come a long way since then. They're so ridiculously easy to use. All you need to do is plug this into your OBD reader, go through on here, and you can even do diagnostics with this thing as well. You choose which map you want to do, and it takes 5 minutes to upload it to the car. Now, if your car's going in for a service, for a warranty work, or for anything that needs the car to go directly back to Ford, you can plug this straight back in, wipe it all off, and it'll be like it never existed. But enough about speaking about the Dreamscience imap handset. Let's get the car started, let's get out on the roads, and let's just see how this car performs with an extra 50 brake horsepower. So we are now on the road, and I actually went over to Dreamscience with Ryan to go get this work done. And what he ended up coming out with was a Dreamscience imap handset. It came out with the intercooler that Dreamscience offer as well. So we're going to take intake temperatures down, and everything's going to be running just a little bit cooler in order to help performance. Now, I had the journey from Hull back over to Leeds to think about what I thought about the map on this car and how it performed, and I must say I was incredibly impressed. So whereas the car normally has a power band between 3,000 and 6,000 RPM, now with the Dreamscience Ultima Plus map on this car, the car just keeps on pulling all the way up until the top of the red line. And that doesn't seem like it's too much of a change, but drivability on B roads, it just increases massively. So let's put the car into sport mode. We're going to be taking some B roads back towards Leeds to go hand the car back over to Ryan. So we're going to have some great roads to drive this car on, and I really can't wait just to open it up a little bit. Straight away, you can instantly tell the torque increase, which does so much for the feel of the car. The power just goes all the way from 2,000 RPM all the way up to the red line, and you can just feel it through your hands, through the steering wheel, and it just feels so good. Now, because we've got the car in sport mode, when we do downshift, it auto blips the throttle so you can get straight onto the power, just like this. Pops out of the exhaust. Now, I haven't driven this car for some time, and I forgot just how much I enjoyed it the first time around. It's so planted, this gearbox is so good. But that's not what we're talking about today. Today is about power. Got a roundabout coming up, let's see what the FocusST has got. Them pops out of the exhaust are just so addictive. And this car, just with the power, there's always one thing that you're worrying about. When you put more power into a car, you do tend to think that it's going to ruin the handling experience, especially with a front wheel drive car. Now that's one thing that I did worry about with the FocusST, because it's quite lively in its stock form. So when you add 50 more brake horsepower, it tends to get a little bit shifty when you're going around corners. A lot of people tend to be a little bit worried about the day-to-day drivability of a car if you are to increase the power. However, as you can see, we're driving through a relatively small little town here called Sherburn in Elmet. It's 30 miles an hour, and even just feathering the throttle, you can't really tell that much has changed. It's only when you start pushing on a little bit and going through the rev range that you notice the extra oomph, the extra pull back into your seat, and the extra torque throughout the rev range as well. So in a short while we'll be breaking off from this little bit of town just to get onto some B roads where we can really open up the car. There's some tight twisted corners over there, so we'll get to see how the car performs in a corner, and then towards the back end of the video I'll give you an overall review of what the DS Ultima Plus map has done for the Mark IV. If you live anywhere near the countryside, you've got to love B roads. Now there's one thing that I've just got to be a little bit wary of, and this is following watching a couple of YouTube videos, is that the Mark IV FocusST's back end can get a little bit lively around corners, and that's not what you expect from a front wheel drive car, but by God, it looks so fun to drive. Now I'm a huge fan of this particular car, even in its stock form, with 280 brake horsepower. But you add on a lump of torque and a lump of power, and the excitement just goes through the roof. Like, I've driven this car over to Sherburn in Elmet, which is about 25 minutes from my house, or 25 minutes from where I picked the car up, and I didn't stop smiling on these roads. It's just so engaging. And then when you get the pops out of the back, it just makes you smile so much more. If you are the owner of a stock Mark IV FocusST, I would highly recommend driving a remapped one, because your life will be changed. It's just so much fun to drive. There's just bags and bags of power. There's a little more torque than there is in the stock form, which just goes and helps you just get through that rev range a little bit more. It helps you when you're down lower in the gears, and yes, in the wet and in uneven surfaces it can slip a little bit. You will get the traction control light coming on, but it's worth it just for when you get an opportunity like this to drive on a nice dry road and you just feel the benefits of the torque. I really did kind of forget just how active this car can be when you are pushing along. It just darts across the road and you have to sort of wrangle it in a little bit. I feel like Steve Irwin jumping on top of a crocodile. It just wants to move around. It wants to go where it wants to go, not where you want it to go. And you might be sat there thinking that I'm talking about this as if it's a bad thing, but it's really not. So fun, so fun. A couple of things that I forgot to mention earlier on in the video is that Ryan, the owner of this car, has done some draggy times between the stock car and also with the Phylon as well. Now, if you don't know what draggy is, it's a telemetry device that I use a lot on my channel, and it essentially allows you to time the differences between 0 to 60, 60 to 100, 30 to 70 miles an hour, so on and so forth. And without spending thousands and thousands of pounds it's most likely the best way that you can see what your mods are doing. So I just want to talk you through a couple of different times between stock and also with the DS Ultima Plus map on this particular car. So in stock form, this car did a 0 to 60 sprint in 5.96 seconds, and on the flip side, with the DS Ultima map loaded on, it did it in 5.52. Now, one thing to note about that particular run is that you got more power from the outset. There's a little bit of wheel spin, and if you have a look at the individual data, you can see that as the speed increases, the DS Ultima time starts to edge out the normal stock time. Now, where you really see the differences between stock and the stage 1 file is on 20 to 80 and 30 to 70 mile an hour pulls. So for example, in stock form, this car did 20 to 80 miles an hour in 7.59 seconds. And now with the stage 1 map and the intercooler on there as well, it did the same run, so 20 to 80 miles an hour in 6.94 seconds. That's a massive difference in day-to-day drivability. And the same can be said for 30 to 70 mile an hour. In stock form, the car did it in 5.26. With the hardware and the software on, it did it in 4.44. So I'm just about to hand this car back, and I've got one last opportunity to put my toe in it, so let's go. It's just such a fun car to drive. Now, as a bit of a roundup before I hand this car back, there's enough power here to get you where you want to go on UK roads. It's not too excessive, it's not going to try and kill you. Yes, there is a little bit of understeer, and yes, the front end does get a little bit light, but I think that's just a characteristic of a front wheel drive car. Now, I think Dreamscience have done an absolutely brilliant job of making this car so drivable with the files that they've got on there. And I can only imagine that Performance Plus and the Dreamscience Ultima maps perform just as well. Now, I'm very interested in the timeline of this particular car because Ryan wants to go stage 2, he wants to go the downpipe route, but he also wants to keep temperatures down as well. So stay tuned if you want to see that in the future, but thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed it, please subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you guys soon.